Okay, let's go through how to throw a cup, start to finish. Okay, first thing, I have my wedged clay and I have it just plopped down in the middle of my bat. I'm gonna take 2 wet fingers and I'm gonna smush the edge, wet my hands, glue my thumbs together, and put some pressure on the clay to get it to stick. Now notice, I really support my thumbs together to give it some pressure. Some of you have a hard time holding your hands steady. You may want to consider crisscrossing your thumbs. So now I'm going to take my left hand at 7 o'clock and my right fingertips at 1 o'clock. I'm going to push away from me with my left hand, pull towards me with my right. At the same time, I'm going to gently lift. If you do one or the other too much, you're going to end up with a hole in the center. So I'm pushing, pulling, and squeezing and lifting. My thumbs again are connected at the top, and I'm going to put some pressure down as I lift up. Let's cone up again. I'm going to start way down here at the base with my pinkies. And bring that clay up into a cone. I like to leave my left hand in place on the clay, clean my right hand so there's no slip left, and then re-wet it with water. And now I'm going to karate chop. And to karate chop, my left thumb is going to come over the top of the cone, so this fat part of my thumb is over the top, and then I'm going to use my right hand to be like a long flat bar pushing down. As I push down on the clay, I'm continuing to push away from myself with my left hand, giving myself enough pressure to get it centered. The flat part of my hand is what's helping this part to be flat, and pushing away is what's going to give me the hockey puck. Now, since we're making a cup, we don't want your base to be too wide. So we're going to keep it about a hockey puck. Okay, so now that I'm centered, I'm going to drop my hole. So 2 hands on the sides of the clay, resting all the way down at the base, right thumb in the center, left thumb on top of it. Make a little indent. Since the outside of your clay is a lot more wet than the inside, you may need to grab a little bit of water, bend your right thumb, and push your thumb down into that hole. Notice I slowed my wheel down a little bit. I do find that a lot of people throw their work off center at this point because they're trying to rush. So now that my opening is about a ½ inch from the base, now I'm going to squeeze my right thumb out towards my right fingertips so that I can open it up to be about 3 finger widths wide. So I'm here, I'm going to use the pressure of my left thumb to help me open up from the middle. I'm wide enough and my hands are starting to stick, so I don't want to throw it off center, so I'm gently and slowly staying supported. Gonna come away from my clay. It's 3 fingers width thick. Okay, so I like to make sure that my hands are nice and clean. I'm not a fan of throwing with a ton of slip on my hands. So I'm going to take my thumbs and crisscross them like I'm a butterfly. My right fingertips come out here to the outside of my clay. My left fingertips are facing my body, and I'm going to use the side of my index finger to put pressure out on the inner wall while my thumbs are connected, and then I'm using my bar of fingers on the outside to squeeze and lift. My hands will move simultaneously because my thumbs are connected. As I start to bring up that little donut of clay that you can see on the outside, I'm going to keep my pressure, but I don't like to pull all the way through the lip. So I'm gently working, and now as I get to the top, I'm going to let off pressure and just open up my hands. Let's do that again. I'm going to start in the bottom. My fingers start to dry out, so I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to hold my sponge this time. So I'm going to start by having my sponge on my bat and then turn it in on my vessel. My hands still are connected. And I'm not working on shaping anything yet. We still need to address the floor and the lip before we do any shaping. And I'm just compressing that lip before I come away. Okay, so the inside of my clay has a bit of a hump. So I'm going to hold my sponge. Left fingertips are going to support on my right wrist so that I can come straight down in my vessel, and I'm going to compress. This is really important, or you could end up with a crack in the middle of your piece. You need to make sure that you're removing all the moisture from your clay. So I'm compressing and slowly pulling towards my right knee. If you are a lefty, you can do this with your left hand and pull towards your left knee. The most important thing is to stay on the right side of your wheel. Since your wheel is spinning counterclockwise, you don't want the wheel to spin into your hands, you want it to spin through your hands. Okay, so I've compressed in my floor. I'm going to do one more. Now before I do anything with my shaping, I'm going to clean up the top lip. Just looking for my needle tool here. Well, this is close enough. With your finger on the base of the needle, you want to hold it on the outside of your clay. Your left hand is supporting on the inner lip. And now I'm going to lean my head over to the right, draw my straight line, oops, and gently go through. Once I've gone through, you can turn the wheel off to pick it up, or you can turn your wheel, you can pick it up while the wheel is spinning. Okay, so I'm going to make a little bridge, and I'm going to put pressure on the front edge of my sponge to soften my lip. Now, my lip is really thick right now. As I stretch this clay, it will thin out. Since you're going to drink from this vessel, you don't want it to be extra thick. So, stretching. You can do a couple of different things when you stretch. You can just use your fingertips, or you can use your rib, you can use your sponge. I'll do a combination. So I'm going to wet my rib, and I'm holding it in my left hand, and I'm going to point it slightly away from me. And I'm just pushing out. My inside hand is going to catch the clay. Sorry, my outside hand. And I'm throwing really dry at this point. I don't need moisture. Depending on the liquid that you plan on putting in this, coffee, cappuccino, latte, your shape will change. I'm going to make a fairly straight coffee mug with a nice foot. Okay, so now actually instead of doing the sponge again, I'll use our beveling tool. So I'm going to wet the beveling tool, and even though we use this at the base, we can use this on the top lip as well. I'm just going to have the point on the inside. pulling down gently and then slowly pulling out. Remember that drinking vessels, you want the liquid to flow out from the inside. So you want to have a slight curve. You can still read as straight if you would like, but you want it to be slightly curved out so that the liquid flows. Okay, so I think my top lip looks good. Now we just need to address the base. Before I use my beveling tool at the bottom, I'm just going to use my wood stick to cut away some of my base. And then we're going to attach our handle. So I'm just cutting straight towards the bat. And now you can use your needle tool I'm just going to cut that away to give me some space. Okay, now let's do some beveling, and then we'll go work on our handle. All right, I'm going to clean up some of this that's on my bat so you can see what's happening. I'm going to hold this slightly away from me. And pull through to my base. As you know, sometimes it can leave this little crumb. So to fix that, with pretty dry, clean fingers, I'm just going to give a little outward pressure from the inside and grab the extra. And I'm using my rib tool to give a little bit of a texture on the outside so that you can see the ridges. I'm going to do it one more time at the bottom, and then we'll do our handle. Okay, so our cup is done, and now I'm going to pause the video and I will start another video for making my handle.